Fans would love it to not be the last time today here in this series, as once again, FlyQuest back on the blue side. G2 have opted to return to red here with their backs against the wall in their must-win game. FlyQuest going to continue target banning Caps. Like you're talking about, Vedius, this is the guy for G2. He didn't die a single time in the last game until that near-ending team fight when he almost zeroed out Masu. But the TF, the Yone continuing to be banned. The Talia has also been banned, and the first 6 in every single game so far, as the Renekton is removed by G2 as well.
I will say I'm a little surprised by G2's high priority on taking this Renekton away from Bwipo. I guess they feel that they just don't have a reliable answer into it in the event that it's blind picked on the side of FlyQuest. The Jax now being removed from Broken Blade, I think is a smart adaptation, because they know that Broken Blade, not only is he very confident on it, but domestically it was one of his best champions. He basically went undefeated throughout the entire spring split on it. And so just taking that away, removing some of that comfort to put yourself in the best possible position, I think is a smart move from FlyQuest.
Now the 4th mid laner that has been banned in the first 6 bans in the first 2 games is Azir. Okay, there it is. The fact that FlyQuest left it open in place of that Jax, that told me immediately they're gonna first pick it, they're gonna slam it for quad. G2 gets the same read, they ban it away instead.
Okay, so with them being back on blue side here, it's probably going to have to be another blind pick for Bwipo. You mentioned the Renekton ban, you know, it's something he's so comfortable on. That would be a good blind pick, but there's still things like Gragas or something like that that he could go for to try and like neutralize lane and has performed really well on. So I think that he will still be okay, but they opt for the Nico. And again, even with the nerfs, you know, we have still had pretty high priority for a lot of not only bottom lane pressure with this champion, but there is a possibility of flexing it still.
I think not only is she a good engage, but I think into Labrov, she's even better. Because when we think about this player, he prefers melee engaged champions, and I think that in terms of range matchups is where he's at his weakest. Now there's a possibility that they might go for the Nami Lucian here. Alternatively, something that we see often from Labrov is things like the Blitzcrank into that kind of poke tile matchup where he can have a big advantage. But given that we've already seen the Lucian locking, we are looking at either a Braum or a Nami, potentially a Leona on the bot side of G2. I wonder if they'll prioritize their jungler here. Oh, the Nautilus, of course, forgot about him.
Okay, so the bot lane for G2 is the priority here. Going back to that second game, it was a level 1 double kill, no outside influence in the bottom lane for Hans and Labrov, but it still wasn't enough to get the win. This time, they're investing even more in that early firepower.
And after that, though, Busio was really good on the Bard, making so many moves, so many big plays. So if he does get his hands on the Nico, Busio is very good with his map movements, with his creative plays. And we go into the York. Okay, we were talking about these Bwipo blind picks. He is one in North America. He was the first one, at least in our league, you know, that really popularized this champion as well, even with the 3 armor nerf.
He's not here on the desk with us right now, but I can hear Azael rubbing his chin at this already. Azael is a very critical person of the blind Yorick, because Yorick has a lot of potentially really hard counter matchups if your opponent is willing to play them, but inspired on the Trundle this time.
That may be why they want to go for an early Trundle, so that you kind of dissuade G2, Broken Blade, from going for like the Cho'Gath or something, because some of the other like counter matchups are ones that people mention that are super difficult, but you don't see in pro play. Like an Aurelia is so risky, even though you can dominate the matchup, because it makes Aurelia doesn't have her own escapes, so then it makes it hard for you to like play side lanes later and team fights and stuff. And so looks like they're not too worried about that one, and they want to get the Nefiri first. That champion does have so much mobility, but even so, we have seen decent Trundles across the world go for invades even against Nefiri and chase them down sometimes.
I mean, Trundle, simple champ. He gets close, he takes a bite out of you, and then he bonks, bonks, bonks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He's fast, and he can put the pillar up to make you slow.
He's going to be looking to put that dog in the kennel, all right? Like, he's a champion that can definitely find advantages early. We'll see how things pan out as we move into the second phase of bans. AD carries are going to be the target, as Callista now removed, a nice pairing alongside the Nico. I'm wondering if they're worried about things like the Kai'Sa still available. I don't know. With the amount of, I think Ezreal might be something they think about. Decent range, very safe on the bot side of the map. Also just synergizes well and opens you up to allow the Nico to start roaming around the map. But the thing about the AD carry meta is it feels like every AD carry is viable in a way. So you're really just concerned about the most threatening ones that pair up nicely with the Nico.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really start to see AD carry feel super pressured until game 4, game 5 of Fearless.
Meanwhile, on the other side here with G2, since you do have this Nefiri carry jungle here for Skumond, they're looking at some other possible like setup mid laners there. So I actually do think the Ahri is a good ban since the Annie and Aurora, those two other really big ones are already off the table, obviously from last game. Let's see if there's any other of them that FlyQuest are actually worried about.
This is quite clever. So they're aware of the potential flex of that Nico into the mid lane. Yep. They're wary of a possible Braum Caitlyn or something coming out from the bot side of the map, so they just choose to ban away the Braum to kind of mitigate and push away from that potential flex of the Nico. The Gwen being banned out on the top side can be a good carry option for Broken Blade. Cho'Gath is usually the direction that he's looking at for a matchup like this, but into the Trundle, he might be dissuaded from bringing that out.
Exactly. It's just like what you mentioned earlier, Kobe. You pick the Yorick blind, but then you give him his buddy with a bonk stick to make sure that Cho'Gath, hey,
he's not dissuaded.
Yeah, he's not. Broken Blade is saying, all right, I see your stick, I raise you a Cho'Gath.
And the reason you immediately started talking about Azael, talking about, Cho'Gath's counter is because of feasting on the Maiden and being able to deal so well with ghouls and everything. So we'll see if the Trundle is going to be the kind of switch that kind of nullifies that counter pick. But oftentimes, like you always see, is the Yorick then just doesn't summon the level 1 Maiden. Later on, the feast isn't going to one-shot it, so you can do it later, and you can like choose your moments when you're going to summon it. But that is normally the reaction. If the Cho'Gath's just in your lane with feast ready, you just don't summon it.
So seeing Orianna, I am wondering if G2's thinking about either a Sylas or an Akali for Caps. When we think about how he's been playing, wanting to give him as much agency as possible would make sense. He must be feeling very confident, and he'd want to have a nice jungle matchup, or sorry, a mid-jungle pairing is what I mean. And into an Orianna Nico, there are some good ultimates to steal, the Kai'Sa as well. Sylas might be the direction, but Akali is good into the Orianna as well.
Ooh, Caps Akali here when they need it most. Elimination game.
All right.
I feel like that I can't be more worried.
Well, I do have a fun fact here for you, Vedius. As of this game right here, Caps has now passed Xiaohu for second most international games of all time for any player at 193. Only Faker is ahead of Caps in terms of international appearances now.
I mean, there is a reason why he's called the Western GOAT. The fact that he made back-to-back World Finals all those years ago, the fact that he's competed against some of the best mid laners in the world. He is recognized as being a super talented individual, and if he wants to keep that number going up here at MSI, he needs to step up here in Game 3. He's already had a very strong performance in this series. Let's see if G2 can begin the reverse sweep.
Like this from Quad 2, keeping watch of the Raptor camp to see if there's any attempt at warding so he can alert Inspired. So much easier to work around the information that your opponents have when you already know where they've invested their trinket cooldown timers.
Also looking at the AD carries, sometimes you'll see AD carries take the cleanse into these CC heavy champions. Not this time around. Barrier for both, and I feel like this leads right into what Vedius was talking about with these volatile bottom lanes ready to scrap from the get-go.
Labrov positioning in the lane, fishing for a hook, but Masu and I was about to say Masu and Masu.
Double Masu.
Masu and Busio positioning nicely within the minion wave to deny that hook possibility. Hansama being denied some farm. Mimon on the top side of the map. Bwipo already getting out to a good start, but Broken Blade utilizing his E to trade back. You expect Bwipo to have the advantage in the early trades.
Yeah, moving up there. He had the ghouls ready on the ground. Goes up and gets it. We also saw on the bottom side of the map, Masu is using the expensive Uzi skin, and then Busio turned into him, so they got double value out of it.
Right.
The
double Uzi skin.
I triple with the crown.
Triple Uzi skins.
The value.
FlyQuest already popping off in the bottom lane there, as they do have control over this, and it's already a better start than game number 2. Remember that in that previous one, it was 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock when Hans and Labrov got their double kill.
All right, man, that's why you do see a lot of the Nico with the Kai'Sa, because the Kai'Sa's pretty short range and doesn't have the strongest lane phase by herself, but then you pair it with the Nico, and you're able to have that agency. So pushing in on the bottom side with both junglers pathing towards bottom side, that means this top side trades that we're seeing here are going to be...
Oh, Whippo. Nice damage onto Broken Blade there, but he'll still heal some of it up. Again, you kill the ghouls, you get the proc your passive, you heal up on everything that you kill, even if it's a little trash ghoul. Quad gets caps very low though, down to 100 HP as he continues shoving in the mid wave.
I like the aggression from Quad. It's what you need to be doing in this early matchup. But we talked about the junglers pathing towards bot. Inspired has done a full clear and has made his way down. He's using the pressure that he has from his bot lane to move into the enemy jungle, and he set his sights on the blue buff.
Okay, smited away by Skewmon. Nicely done.
Yep. This is what we were talking about. The pushing lanes for Trundle is always so scary for enemy jungle because he is going to be able to come and look for those invades, but Skewmon had his smite, so no problem for him, and he can just cross over for the Scuttle Crab. I think he should be able to finish it and chase it upwards and be just fine, even though you see Inspired crossing. Inspired's actually wrapping through enemy jungle at the moment.
Oh, but this is the tragedy for Bwipo. So many times you see him get a little bit greedy, sticking around, wanting to shove the wave up the last little bit, and it ends up costing him his flash as Skewmon is there.
Kind of interesting here because, like I was talking about, like Inspired is covering this route, so they've been trying to trap this.
Oh, but Skewmon's caught out there by the Tangle Barbs from Busio. Inspired waiting over the wall. One more hit from the club, and it's first blood to Inspire.
And that is why he saw it coming a couple steps ahead. The 4D chest there, Inspired becoming the embodiment of jungle diff.
I mean, he's just in the head of Skewmon. The fact that he's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Ooh, Labrov covering mids.
Labrov wanting to at least try to get a summoner spell here out of Quad, but instead just gets a turret shot as Caps does hit the Shuriken, but that's not going to do a whole lot. We've actually got, as we're standing by in this early game, Lore is standing by with Masu's family. Lore.
Right now alongside his mom. How does it feel watching your brother play here at home in Canada?
It's a very emotional time for sure. I just want to say that we're proud of him, irrespective of him or the team winning or not.
Thank you so much. Hopefully he can close out this one fast. Casters, over to you.
I love seeing the family come out to support the players like that, especially here on home turf in Canada. Already up to a 2-0 lead would be an awesome moment for Masu and for all of FlyQuest if they can close this one out super clean, but they've still got to play through G2 to do it. Cap's going to take his recall now. Level 6 on the Akali. Keep your eyes on him for roams and plays. We're looking at him to be that X factor.
And that X Factor moving up to the top side. He's got his Gromp and Wolves ready, so should be able... Wait, it's a pretty deep ping here from him as well. He's setting up for a possible future play.
All right, we've got one real Inspired farming a frog. We've got a fake Inspired heading top, looking to give some grief to Broken Blade.
Blade, though. Secured by Broken Blades.
Yeah, the feast is ready to go on the Cho'Gath. Masu takes a little bit of damage, but nothing to really be super scared about. Nice Tangle Barbs there from Busio.
It means bottom side is a possible target. You saw Skewmon kind of heading down there, but they decide we are... Wait, he's going back to the play now.
Oh boy.
They're going for the maiden first.
Okay. Bwipo's maiden at 500 HP. Bwipo trying to keep this wave from crashing into the turret. Drops the cage, but Bwipo's down to 300 HP. Ardent Blaze does hit him. Skewmon taking damage there from the turret. Bwipo kills him! Skewmon gives a free one over, and Bwipo buries him there with a shovel. Now up in the top side. It's one traded back, but they still get the dive. Feat of Warfare claimed by FlyQuest as Busio does drop to Broken Blade at least.
Skewmon didn't expect the shovel damage
so
right there.
Impatient. Oh wait, the ghouls! The ghouls!
It's
The brush, the
that
vision.
last ghoul.
Oh my god, this is painful to watch. What
That is, I
going
feel for you,
on?
you know, because Nefiri W is broken, but it's not broken if you don't press it there under the tower. They really wanted to force it in, and props to Bwipo for moving up towards the minion wave, you know, and forcing them to go in and blunder that tower dive.
Oh my goodness, Bwipo handing the shovel to Nefiri and being like, here, dig this yourself. Like, he's just, like, it was so brutal to watch. Like, the idea is solid. You get a lot of good damage down onto Bwipo, but as you rightly said, like, he got impatient. He went underneath the tower, and now Inspired, level 6, moving into the enemy jungle. Lebrov flashes.
Lebrov with the flash, trying to lock up Inspired. They want to try to get the trundle here, but Inspired wants to turn it around. Subjugate, already used. Lebrov, he takes some damage, but FlyQuest doesn't want to overcommit to this. So it'll be Lebrov's flash, traded for the flash of Inspired. +1 ulti technically for G2.
Look at the lane assignments that we're getting from FlyQuest right now. Bwipo with the pressure on the bot side of the map. They've also moved their mid lane in. They've moved their bot lane into mid to keep caps underneath this tower. They're fine playing the Orianna into the Lucian because they know that Quad can just continue to wave clear, and this gives complete access to the Grubs. FlyQuest throughout this series have controlled this objective, and it looks like G2's not in a position to challenge it once again.
And I just feel like Busio has been so good for this team. And the bottom lane together, of course, you know Masu as well. But Busio, there's been so much talk about his improvements, over the years, and he has just been so good in North America and showing it with the map control, a lot of these vision plays, constantly being in the right place at the right time in this series.
3 games, 9 grubs for FlyQuest. Total control over the objective, as back down here in the bottom side now. Broken Blade a little bit behind Bwipo in terms of experience, as Bwipo hits him with the shovel again, but the extra HP will be healed back up as Broken Blade continues to farm these minions. Caps hiding in the smoke screen, but Masu pretty unafraid of him, uses the supercharger there for the extra attack speed, but Caps' Shuriken gives him enough distance to not take those extra autos on the back end of things. FlyQuest up a little bit over 1,000 gold. Again, they've already got the feat of warfare. They're up +1 in terms of neutral objectives since they claimed all 3 grubs. No dragons taken early on in this one. Kimtech First Drake typically has pretty low priority considering the stats that it gives don't really feel super effective in the early stages of the game. But Hans and Lebrov now trying to get this top lane wave shoved in. Lebrov still not level 6 on the Nautilus.
I just think the lane assignments from FlyQuest continue to be so good. Keeping Quad in a side lane, normally Orianna doesn't want to be there. She's so susceptible to ganks in these longer lanes, but it's very difficult for Hans to just walk up and trade against him. Quad feels very comfortable with the level 2 boots to go toe-to-toe with Hans. He was getting zoned from a lot of farm. Meanwhile, Masu had full access to wave after wave in the mid lane, getting solo experience as well. He's nearly got a full level over Hans. He's got a 20 CS lead. Meanwhile, Quad, while sure, he's a little bit behind Caps, he's still in a good position. And it just feels like that everything is going the way of FlyQuest as they continue to build advantages in the laning phase.
Yeah, that Orianna staying safe while they still have their outer towers. Maybe later as the game goes on and the outer towers do get taken down, that's where you usually see the Akali having supremacy in the side lane and putting some more pressure onto the Ori. Maybe G2 can find angles there, because it looks like it is probably going to be another G2 pray for Caps to pull out some really big plays in this game.
Okay, and you can see right down there in bottom lane, as soon as Broken Blade ulted a minion right there with the Feast, Bwipo immediately summons the Maiden because he knows he'll at least get 1 Feast cooldown worth of value out of it before Broken Blade tries to burst it down and kill it off. Bwipo maintains control in that bottom lane 1v1. Gold lead still stagnant where it was before, still a moderate lead for the side of FlyQuest as Inspired, not real Inspired, but fake Inspired, now real Inspired. Both of them moving up there towards the top side, but Caps will be reinforced by the TP from Lebrov.
That's the best part, Flowers, because the fake Inspired is always with the real Inspired because Busio plays so well. He plays so well with his jungle, and they have been able to create so much. He sacrificed his life for the topside tower dive, but also, as you mentioned, and we were talking about in Champ Select, like the Yorick here, Bwipo, early on, not summoning the ultimate when he did have to face Broken Blade and the Feast was ready, and then choosing his moments, you know, in the 3v1 and after the Feast cooldown has been used. And with this early lead, FlyQuest will come and claim what is rightfully theirs. They have pre-existing vision, waves in very good spaces in both mid lane and top lane here, so they rotate over, they collect their objective. It does feel very methodical and calm.
Feels like that, honestly, the confidence is slipping away from G2. They're very much a spectator right now, not really looking for any proactive plays on the map, and FlyQuest are running around pretty much doing everything that they want to. And that's the one thing that I love watching about Inspired. He plays with nothing but confidence. Cap's going for a nice trade in the 1v1. Now that he's got that rocket belt completed, he should feel a lot more comfortable in this matchup. Always having that potential of a kill with his ultimate available. Once he gets level 11, that cooldown is going to be extremely valuable, along with the extra damage.
Yeah.
But for now, it's FlyQuest. They can play passive. Herald spawns in about 2 minutes' time. They can continue to farm up. No need to overforce anything. They've hit that double Trinity Force power spike, which you love to see. And yeah, FlyQuest very comfortable 13 minutes into the game.
And that's the thing with these early leads, you're still going to be able to get to the point where G2 have their first items and can still, you know, fight a fight versus FlyQuest, and we get the real determining moments.
Exactly. You've got the Spear of Shojin for Skewmon. You've got the Heartsteel on the Cho'Gath of Broken Blade. The Essence Reaver for Hans Sama. The biggest gold lead for the side of G2, the only gold lead, is Caps with that massive farm advantage of 5 waves. Broken Blade here. He doesn't have the Feast. He's still going to try to whoop the Maiden a little bit, but not quite enough damage to guarantee the kill, so the Maiden gets back to the safety of Bwipo, as the gold lead has shrank a little bit here, and we'll see if G2 can fight their way back into this one as the TP into the top side arrives from Quad. Broken Blade versus Bwipo down here in the bottom lane. Bwipo has lost his Maiden. Skewmon is nearby, waiting in the Pixel Brush on top of a control ward. Broken Blade is low on HP. Bwipo will walk into the river now. Skewmon waiting. Bwipo doesn't walk any closer.
Yeah, he's got his flash, so he's kind of staying on range there. And they might have seen one of those little dogs as he walks away from the brush.
Okay, that's first turret claimed for FlyQuest. We crest the 14-minute point, and we can see that G2 claimed no turret plates during the early game here in game number 3. FlyQuest getting 3 of them themselves, so not a crazy advantage in gold built up through those plates. A pretty low plate game overall, but FlyQuest securing the feats now. They've got the extra power on the boots. Skewmon trying to step up to scare Busio and Masu out of his jungle, but he takes a little bit of poke in doing so. Inspired still up here on the top side, will be able to secure the Scuttle Crab, and Rift Herald spawns in 20 seconds.
Inspired with just fantastic map awareness. Seeing a good opportunity to secure that top tower, knowing that Skewmon is likely on the bot side of the map. Not only does Bwipo respect the possibility of a collapse, but just results in first tower, the boots upgraded as well.
And you mentioned it, Flowers, but Busio constantly doing all this setup work. Look at this vision line ahead of the spawn of the objective. So Rift Herald comes onto the map, and FlyQuest see every entry point that G2 could possibly use because they push up the minion wave in mid lane. That gives you some artificial vision. Then you have the full wards on jungle, and they actually have a couple of options to themselves. Bwipo here trading again, and Skewmon actually visits, but Inspired is here covering.
Yeah, Broken Blade goes for the Rupture, does not hit it. Bwipo getting away, but he's already feasted on Broken Blade. Nice kill on Bwipo.
All right, the Feast also effective on the York himself, not just the Maiden, jumps him down. So G2 do get some money. And again, the Rift Herald is up, but it's still difficult for G2 because they invested everybody down to the bottom side of the map, or at least jungle as well as support, which is the most mobile members. And so FlyQuest will still start up and take the objective.
I think that really caught Bwipo off guard. He did have his flash available, and I think that he thought that I've probably got one more auto attack in me before I die.
Big Feast.
Definitely caught me off guard, that's for sure. At the very least, G2 will get another kill on the board, but FlyQuest maintaining that control over these neutral objectives. The Dragon becomes the next point of focus, 40 seconds away. G2, with the play on bot side, have been able to get a bit of deep vision into FlyQuest jungle. But Inspired, having now cleared his top side, will have plenty of time to move back towards bot. Maybe he can get a cheeky reset in ahead of the Dragon that we're expecting a bit of a contest over.
I do like the boots of swiftness for Broken Blade, because usually it's pretty hard for Cho'Gath to dodge, you know, Yorick abilities, but that does mean so much for him in the matchup.
Okay, boys, let's take stock of where everything's at. Caps running away from some ghouls up here in the top lane. Next Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. And it's G2 with the setup around the pit with the wards in the FlyQuest jungle as Inspired trying to approach. He's got his bot laners standing by here in the mid lane grouped up. It'll be up to Quad to answer the push from Broken Blade down there in the bottom lane. And Skewmond is going to start the objective.
Shockwave used onto Broken Blades.
Yeah, just onto the Cho'Gath. He gets a chunk, but that's a big team fight ultimate that FlyQuest doesn't have.
FlyQuest with a Trundle ultimate could try and go straight through front line.
Okay, the Dragon's already down to 2,000. Inspired gets the shield. Lebrov tries to go in. The Drake is already slain by Skewmond as Lebrov tries to get away, but there's the Pillar of Filth. The Hex Gates activate, but that's not going to matter. Lebrov tries to escape, but Masu puts the last shot in his back as that's a 4th kill of the game for FlyQuest. G2 take the objective, but lose their support.
And you could see the idea from the beginning there from Inspired. Since the Dragon's getting low, he walks forward like he's going to go steal it to try and bait out that hook into the wall, and then he saves his pillar for the exit. So FlyQuest, even though they lose that Dragon, wait a second.
Quad's in danger, Broken Blade. He has his feast ready. The Rupture silences him up, beats him down, and eats him up. Nice shutdown for Broken Blade. 3-1-0 here in the Cho'Gath.
So Broken Blade is continuing to get bigger, but Caps being isolated in this Yorick matchup is not really where you want this Akali to be. Ooh, Lucio.
Lucio in trouble. Pop Blossom as he's about to die. Pillar to make a little bit of extra distance, but Skewmond's already got the first kill. Now Masu's the next target. Whippo and Inspired trying to protect their AD carry as G2 comes to life. A 5-man play around the bottom lane tier 1 turret. They might look to go for the dive. Caps coming around from the side. Masu knows he has to try to walk this one out the long way. Lebrov and Caps isolated. Lebrov trapped inside the Yorick cage. Lebrov dies. Teleport coming in for FlyQuest, and now it'll be a 4v4 with the odds even. G2 heads home.
These pillars here from Inspired, they trap another one. The teleport timer not respected by G2. They wanted this moment to be their full comeback and reach a little bit too far.
I feel like Caps was just a little too antsy there. You could see he TPs in, he sees an opportunity for a fight, and then they're threatening the dive against a full health Trundle. He's already itemizing towards the magic resistance as well. It was an ambitious play, and Inspired rightly punishes it. 5-4 still the kill advantage. Let's look back at the collapse.
So here is the chase, and this is of course after Broken Blade already got that early kill on the Quad, but you're looking at the death timer ticking down and the teleport being ready for him. So FlyQuest, they kite back, they're doing some damage. There's still this minion wave that G2 have to deal with, so that buys the necessary time for Quad to revive, and FlyQuest make the call, okay, we'll attack the other side and try and push them off of this dive, and then a Yorick cage and a pillar afterwards as well. There's no exit path. There's just this team can create too much terrain behind you.
Inspired is tanky. Like, this is not ideal for Akali when you're playing into this much magic resistance, and it's going to make it harder for Caps to have any real kill threat on Inspired at the very least. Of course, that's not going to be his target.
Right.
But with the Seraphs also finished for Quad, these defensive items are quickly being completed, and Masu having 2 fully finished items along with the upgraded boots as well. Like, FlyQuest is looking poised and ready for the next fight.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, you mentioned it's hard for Caps. It is also hard for Skewmond to get in there because the Trundle with these low range, wait a second, they're actually walking on over now towards this.
It's already gone. The Otacon taken in the darkness before G2 can respond to it. 17 flowers up to 31 after the Otacon harvest them all versus the 6 of G2. Plus 25 flowers is like an extra 2,500, 3,000 team gold difference as Whippo gets caught by the Rupture, flashes away, respecting the feast burst from Broken Blade. He remembers that last death, does not want to give away another freebie. This tier 1 turret in the bottom lane about to fall though, and Broken Blade's going to head home because he knows FlyQuest is setting up in the jungle of G2. Immediately the turret dive would follow if Broken Blade stayed around. Skewmond passing through, but his blue buff has already been stolen by FlyQuest.
I mean, Inspired is just running the game. He can literally do no wrong. He's playing around his pressure beautifully. The vision control they have means that G2 aren't even aware of what's happening on the map. G2 is quickly losing so much control. It's 3 towers to 0, and Inspired is an absolute monster on this trundle. Meanwhile, again, we talked about it earlier, Masu has a 1.5k individual lead over Hans.
Yeah, and he was helping Inspired do that counter jungling. They're playing as a team, and Masu
with a killer instinct jumps in on Caps, point blank range. Caps, however, can make enough distance to get himself away. He has to use perfect execution defensively to do it, so ulti for ulti, no summoner spells used between the two of them. Red buff claimed for FlyQuest as they're locked and loaded for this dragon spawning here in about 20 seconds. G2 has control over the river for now.
I think that is a good ulti trade before the dragon fight here, actually, because Akali, without the ultimate, where is the threat, Vedius? To crack this FlyQuest comp. I think that was a very intelligent play.
Broken Blade is pretty much all G2 have right now.
Okay, the feats have been good.
Ooh, no
hey,
flash.
Broken Blade with a knock-up. Now G2's going in. They found Bwipo. Yeah. This could be the fight they need right there. Caps gets the kill, and Bwipo, wrong place, wrong time. That's the opportunity for G2.
Look at the mini-map, though. I think FlyQuest are making the right choice. Immediately push towards the mid lane. Set your sights on that tower. Just get more map control. G2 are desperate right now to get a foothold back into this game, and FlyQuest have a lot of options to play with. Good damage done onto that tier 2 in the mid lane, and they also get some vision around the top side. The good news for G2 is that gold gets funneled into Caps. The Akali, getting that influx of resources is much needed as we get closer to the late game.
And nicely for G2 as well, they rotate Hans and Labrov over to the mid lane in time to keep the tier 2 turret standing. It's not healthy, it's about to topple over, but that's gold that's not in FlyQuest's pocket. So G2 is now up a Drake, but FlyQuest still maintains their 1,500 gold lead with about twice that much value in adaptive force through those flowers that they've got from the Otacon.
Yeah, I mean, that foothold was right there at that tri-brush, though. You know, the early move from G2 to punish the York that has no flash. Right as we ask about it, Vedius, they're able to find that so much. That is so big considering the game state that they were in to be able to get Dragon number 2 as well as the extra gold.
I will say,
okay,
in a smite fight, FlyQuest have to be careful. Not only because of the feast, but also the unsealed spellbook on Labrov means that there's 2 smites plus a feast.
Yeah.
So if they're going to contest that objective, they need to have full confidence that they're going to be able to secure it. Skimon and Labrov setting up a bit of a trap of their own. I don't know if you can really trap Inspired, given how strong he is right now, though. He's aware of their presence in the topside jungle, though. An easy way to tell if you're in danger is you look at the mini-map, how many dots do you see? Inspired saw 1, and he was like, yeah, this probably isn't that safe. Moves away to safety. G2, kind of, we're in this lull state right now. Baron not going to be an immediate point of contention. An early secure of the Otacon means that that's not available. So these outer towers really become the focus for G2, and FlyQuest can just do what they can to match and catch these waves.
Biggest individual gold lead in the game is Masu, who is closing in on his 3rd fully completed item. However, both solo lanes for G2 are ahead in gold. Plus 800 for Caps. But now he's under a little bit of pressure here. Bwipo summoning up the Maiden. Still only a level 2 Maiden, but you can see the health on it now. Pretty tanky, 3,000 or more. Bwipo halfway to level 16, but the same story almost there for Broken Blade. Both of those level 3 ultis, very, very powerful on these top laners. Broken Blade will find the Maiden, but again, the HP on it pretty tough at this point. Bwipo's just going to drop the cage defensively to try to keep Broken Blade away from the Maiden, but if Broken Blade can feast this thing, that's pretty important, and there it is. Broken Blade secures the feast kill on the Maiden, but Bwipo is ready to try to keep the fight going now as the ghouls continue chasing. Broken Blade loses out in the trade, but again, he's Cho'Gath. He'll regenerate pretty easily, and he goes right back to farming in the lane.
Yeah, 9 stacks, pretty good for him, but Caps
over the wall, throws out a shuriken, does not find a valuable target. Masu and Quad were both right there, but it just slightly misses.
That Masu lead that you're talking about can be very meaningful too. As he goes for the AP upgrade, that poke is going to be a big advantage for FlyQuest in the standoffs, trying to get the early advantage before the engage comes out.
I like the way FlyQuest are playing on 2 lanes right now. That mid tower is not really defendable. And FlyQuest will pick it up. Good control, nice cross map, mainly because G2 can't get much on the other side. Caps is very slow to push on the Akali. Even if he gets close to the tower, it's likely that FlyQuest can respond in time. And so FlyQuest get themselves another small advantage.
And you can see Broken Blade's ulti is almost back up, whereas there's still half the cooldown on Bwipo's. The Maiden of the Mist is a very long cooldown ultimate compared to most of the others in the game. Broken Blade about to hit level 16 here on that Cho'Gath. Bwipo just hit that value there with the Yorick, so the next Maiden is going to be even beefier. Baron is up and alive on the map now. 1 minute until the next Hextech Drake. Remember that G2 is up 2-1 in terms of that Drake count, as Busio will continue using these clones, these dummy inspireds, to walk in, see if they can find anything in G2 territory. As you can see, the wards placed down all over the map by the side of FlyQuest. Control ward in the Baron pit here. They'll disable one of the G2 wards as another clone used. This thing is so powerful as a scouting tool.
It certainly is. FlyQuest doing just a
Another
really
one.
good job with their vision in general. You've already praised Busio enough, but just want to reinforce how well he is working with Inspired to keep an eye on what G2 is up to. The goal difference has largely stayed even. G2 haven't conceded any major advantages since the last fight, but as the observers are highlighting for us right now, it is darkness around the Dragon. FlyQuest are going to be able to get the push on mid thanks to Bwipo.
And that Cho'Gath is very tanky. Full 3 items for Broken Blade here, whereas Bwipo is still on 2 and pieces.
This next fight, man, I feel like it could very easily go either way. Caps is still top side. He's got his teleport if he needs it. He wants to go after the tier 1 turret to get the gold a little bit closer. He will find his target. Inspired steps forward, but a quick burst of damage coming out from Han Sama. Now Lebrov's got to be careful. He finds a dredge line, but he immediately has to flash back out. Lebrov is already down. Quad grabbing the kill on that one. Caps makes his way in with a TP. Can he find the flank? Broken Blade flashing away, barely staying alive. Masu jumping in, needs a little bit more damage. Masu's already got the kill. G2 are going to get wiped off Summoner's Rift. FlyQuest find the moment instantly.
FlyQuest will steamroll G2 as they march towards the Nexus.
It's only Caps left standing. He jumps in, but it will not matter. The last golden statue is buried. The latest chapter of the rivalry is written as an epitaph for Europe, and FlyQuest eliminates G2 from MSI.